Welcome to Mike Motivation. Can I motivate you today? Thanks for everybody who's been watching. Thanks for everybody who's been tuning in. Appreciate all the love. Be sure to hit the like button, share, subscribe, whether on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I appreciate all the support. So today, we're going to talk about, can you visualize some things you're thinking about in life? How do you visualize it, like on a spectrum of dealing with people, dealing with life, dealing with situations? Can you visualize it? And let me know if you like this or not. I'll make more graphics like this, but let me know. So before we get into that, comment and let me know what you think about Mike Motivation. Hit the like button and let's build a community of logical thinkers. I'm more of a logical person. I respect everybody's perspective. Some people lead with emotion and feelings, and that's cool. I'm a person, I lead with logic. It has to make sense. That's just how I've been wired. That's kind of how I grew up, and I'm reaching out to those people. Like, let's build a community of logical thinkers, people that think with logic that makes sense. Let's do it. Let's build it, and let's grow together. So, with that being said, let's talk about it. The first one, when you're dealing with a person or when a person's dealing with you, there's one thing about life is when you're dealing with thinking like on the spectrum, you gotta know where another person is, and you also gotta know where you are on the spectrum, right? You can either be a novice, somewhere in between that, fair, or you could be a person that be getting over, exploiting or taking advantage, however you want to put it. But where are you on the spectrum before you start getting involved with other people? Because if you're a novice, it's gonna be easy for that person that's on the far side of the spectrum to get over because you're a novice. You're kind of new to it. This any part of life, whether it's you growing up, you're working in the job force, job market, dating. If you're a novice in dating, somebody that's fair or somebody that's getting over may run game on you because you're a novice. You don't have any sense of understanding yet. You're in the job force. You're a novice. People try to run game on you. Have you working extra hours when you don't have to because you don't know. You're trying to be impressionable. You're trying to be a good worker. So when you're dealing with people, dealing with situations, dealing with circumstances, you have to realize where do you fall on the spectrum first, and then when you're able to realize what are you dealing with, is this situation um is it not good because it's getting over on somebody, or are you a novice to the situation and you're trying to determine if it's a situation that's fair or is it a situation that's gonna get up somebody's getting over on you or trying to mess you over. But definitely one of the things you have to kind of always kind of analyze and think about while you're navigating through life, because a lot of times, a lot of people, a lot of situations, it kind of can be somewhere in between, right? It could be novice, you're new to it, fair. It could be a fair deal, everybody can win, or it could be getting over, it's lopsided. But you have to make that determination. And a lot of times, you have to get the experience. Sometimes you have to feel all three of these to really understand. But when you're young, you start out at the novice level when you're going into being an adult. You're trying to learn how to be an adult, but you're a novice. And when you run into people, some people will play you fair, some people will play you trying to mess you over. You have to be careful about that. Some people are subtle with it, some people are aggressive with it, and some people would like to set traps and let you run into it. But you have to have the mindset to be able to be honest and humble wherever you fall on the spectrum and figure out where you want to be. The next one is soft, firm, or tough. Kind of like a mattress. You want soft, firm, or tough. It's all based on perspective. Sometimes, if a person is big on principles, they can be big on moral code. A lot of people think they're tough and firm, right in between tough and firm, somewhere in there. Some people may think, depending on where you are, if you're like that, you believe in the moral code, you got principles, they may think you soft because you don't act on certain things. All about perspective. When you're men dealing with women, we see it all the time on social media. They either gonna think you soft, firm, or tough. Um, Different ones attract different personalities, depending on where you fall. You have to be honest. Sometimes when you soft, people tend to try to um, they try to get over on somebody, right? Versus if you firm, sometimes people they'll play you from a fair standpoint because they know that you firm. You're not gonna allow, you know, funny business to happen. You're not gonna allow nobody to get over on you. And if they deem that you soft, they'll try to, you know, cross the line. You know, do different things to take advantage of the softness. But what I would say is sometimes people do different. It's a variation. I don't think nobody's one specific thing. And if it is, it could be extreme. Like if you all the way tough, you could be extremely tough. If you're all the way firm, you could be firm. And then if you're all the way soft, you could be soft. But it's all about perspective. You have to know where you fall in life on this spectrum. And you have to stand by what your philosophy you choose to take on. Because when you take on a tough philosophy, you may not be liked. People might not want to fool with you as much. Because you don't have no wiggle room, you're tough. When you firm, you may be liked just enough to deal with because you're a little bit of flexibility, but only in certain situations probably. People probably fool with you, but because you firm, you have some give, but you don't have a lot of give than if you was tough. And then sometimes if you soft, people may fool with you more because they know that you're way more flexible than somebody that's firm or tough. Just depends on perspective. You know what I'm saying? Everybody views these different. There's stuff in between. You could be like right in between of firm and tough. You could be right in between of soft and firm. You can mix all three of them together, but there is in life nobody is lopsided. Sometimes it's different situations call for different settings. You have to realize that in life. Some situations you got to be tough. Some situations you got to be firm. Some situations softness will get you through, will get you to another place. But you have to have the awareness to realize that you're on a thinking spectrum. Because if you're all the way tough, like they say, a lot of tough guys either dead or in jail. Because they're always tough. They're 100% hard or whatever. But what I would say is you have to be able to have discernment. You got to have some sense and know when to use each one. Because certain situations call for certain one of these pretty much spectrum traits, and you have to be smart about which one to use. Because sometimes you can make the wrong choice, a decision, and it can cost you legally time, could cost you money. Sometimes it can cost you your life. Unfortunately, one bad choice can cost you your life. That's how fragile life is. So you got to think about that. This is what gets a lot of people, even myself included, Good decision, 50-50, or bad decision. You get faced with this a lot in life. And sometimes when you think about situations that happen, it's not just one decision. It's a series of good decisions, bad decisions, or 50-50 decisions. So when you think about life, I know when I was younger, right? And things happen. You go somewhere, hey, you want to go to Splash Car Wash. Good decision, bad decision. You're putting on perspective. When you 21, 17 to probably what, 21, 22, it seemed like a good decision. You just 9, 10 o'clock at night, you're bored, probably you just got off work or you done with work already. And you're just trying to ride around, see what's going on. So you think it's a good decision. Or it could be 50-50. You ever had those times where it's like, I don't know if this is a good or bad decision. Let me just try. But you know that it could go haywire or it could be a good night. It could be 50-50. I think growing up as I've matured over the years, 50-50 situations are dangerous because you don't know where that thing gonna land at. Bad decision. Sometimes as humans we know. I'm gonna speak for myself. I knew I was making a bad decision. And then there are sometimes it happens so fast, you don't realize you made a bad decision till after you made the decision. But the great thing is you can learn from that decision and turn it back into a good decision or get back to the 50-50. Knowing when to respond. That could be a good decision, bad decision, or 50-50. Some situations you respond to is 50-50. It can go good or bad. Some situations you respond to, it could be a good decision. You brought clarity to something based on your response. Sometimes you can respond, it can be a bad decision. There was no need to respond to it. As humans, we deal with this all the time. You get caught up in the do I say something, do I not say something? Do I do something, do I not do something? Do I go ahead or do I fall back? Do I fill out the application or do I don't fill out that application? Decision making is one of the most important things as an adult you have to learn how to do. Sometimes a 50-50 decision can lead to a bad decision or it can lead to a good decision. But it's 50-50. It's like gambling almost. You don't know. But there are some 50-50 decisions you can say, well, I'm going to buy this knowing that a bill going to be due. You're like, I'm going to buy it and I think I have enough money to pay the bill. Then when you do it and you get to the point where you pay the bill, you be like, you know what? I shouldn't have bought that. I shouldn't have done that. And you have to be honest about I made a 50-50 decision and it cost me down the line. Being able to have foresight and think, one of the most important things as a man, in my opinion, that should be learned, especially when you're young, because things happen in life. You don't want to get in a situation where you're facing legal troubles. You don't want to get in a situation to where it take you years to get out of it. And I'm telling you from experience, making those 50-50 decisions and bad decisions will set you back. And some of them take a lot to get out of. The next one, when you're social at work, out and about, dealing with people in general, quiet, cordial, or talk too much? Where do you fall on the scale? Different people, different times. Like when you don't know a lot of people, sometimes you start out quiet and then you kind of ease up into being cordial. Then you got some people that are extroverts and they just talk. Some people say they talk too much or they could talk to anybody. You have to know where you fall on the spectrum, though. You have to know which when to use each of these. Sometimes, as humans, though, there's situations where I should have been quiet, but I talk too much. There's situations where I talk too much, but I should have been cordial. All kind of scenarios. But you have to know, and as you get, this is my opinion, as you get older and you mature more in life, you kind of know when to use each of these. But I don't think nobody is just one of these on the spectrum. Sometimes they complement each other. Somebody that's quiet, somebody that talk too much. They could be the compliment because the quiet person don't like talking, the person that talk too much like talking, and they balance out each other out. You gotta also think about that too. But where do you fall on the spectrum of quiet, cordial, or talk too much? Because sometimes it's not beneficial. Sometimes being quiet, it can make things suspicious depending on what situation you're in. Sometimes being cordial can put you in a tough situation. Seen that happen. Sometimes talking too much can mess things up for you, or sometimes it can help you out, depending on what field you're in. If you work in a field where you got to do communication, maybe talking too much will be in your benefit. You think about politicians and stuff like that. They have to talk for a living. That's what they do. And if you talk too much, maybe that's a career field that you need to go into where you can talk and communicate. Sales, speaking engagements. If you're cordial, you know how to build networks because you're cordial. You know how to shake hands. You know how to talk to people. You know how to just build networks and build relationships with people. If you're quiet, find something that fits around that skill set of being quiet. Because being quiet is a skill. It's not easy to do. Learning how to be quiet in situations is probably could be beneficial if you can understand that. But some people think when you're quiet that you're soft. Sometimes it's a lot of tough people that's quiet. They don't say a lot. You'd be surprised. But sometimes people get it mixed up on the spectrum. If you're quiet, you're soft, you're not firm enough. But I'm here to tell you that you got to be careful. Sometimes it's the quiet ones you got to watch. So, but where do you fall on this spectrum? And what complements you? The next one, when you talk about personal development or just individual, period. Driven, tired, lazy. Everybody has different perspective. It's very subjective. Everybody does different things. Everybody has their own definition of lazy. Everybody has their own definition of tired. Everybody has their own definition of driven. And what I would say is you have to know where you are on the spectrum. You have to know where you are. Because somebody may think you lazy, but they don't know that you're driven and you're tired by the end of the day. Somebody may think you're tired and they don't know that you're driven. They don't know what all you do. But I would say you have to know where you are. A lot of times I have to be honest with myself. Like I do so much sometimes. Sometimes I have to, if I had 100% If my energy, if you could look at it visually, if your energy's at 100%, how much do you dedicate to certain tasks in a day? How much energy do you dedicate to that? Do you do 5% or 20% to family, another 20% to work? That's 40%. Another 20% for school or church work. That's 60%. You still got about another 40%. How do you divide your energy up throughout the day? Some people put have different values of where they put their energy, depending on where you are in life. That's why I tell kids, get it done, get your education and your development done young, so you won't have to devote energy to that as you get older. There's nothing wrong to wait till you get older, but you're gonna find out it's tough to take that 20%, and it might take more than 20%. It may take 30 or 40% to go to school, get your homework done, stay on top of your stuff, your paperwork and stuff like that. But when you're young, take less resources because you're quicker to recover. It may take you 30%, 20%. Just something to think about. Sometimes you may put most of your resources toward development, and it may slack off in other areas because you have to devote more time to this area in order to get that done. So what does that look like in real life? You may be doing something, and then societal norms or societal perception say that you should be doing this, but the majority may not know what it's like to be driven to finish something or do something that you've been trying to get done because of the time frame, the cost, maybe. So let's say man X went to an apprenticeship. He started an apprenticeship, and it's a 5-year commitment. And in order for him to meet that commitment, he's going to have to be driven for 12 hours a day. And when he get off work, he may be tired. He may feel lazy because he didn't devote 12 hours of the day. So he may cut some of the resources that he would probably use to do things around the house or cut grass or something, who knows, wash the car, because he's driven to get school done, to get the apprenticeship done. This happens in real life. He may be tired when he get home. And sometimes there are people that's driven that can do 12 hours a day, come home, wash the car, do some other stuff around the house. It happens. But as you get older in age, energy resources throughout the day becomes really important, in my opinion. You prioritize different things based on value. And this is very subjective. What one person think is lazy, another person may think something else. When one person think tired, another person may think something else. That's why you have to know you individually. You have to know you. Because sometimes you may not have enough energy for that particular day, but another person may think that you're lazy. That's why I say before you look at somebody else, you have to know where you are on the spectrum. I had to learn this myself. Where am I on the spectrum before I look at somebody else? And when you start looking at yourself, you start analyzing yourself, you're going to find yourself being a little more quiet about things, because before you go to call somebody else something, where are you at on the spectrum? You calling somebody else lazy and you lazy, how that look? So know where you are on the spectrum. Temper. This happens Everybody go through this throughout the day. It's probably like a roller coaster, right? You either cool, frustrated, angry. Some people can say frustrated could be angry. But know where you are on this spectrum, because two angry people is a ticking time bomb every time. Nothing good comes out of two angry people. Even when you're frustrated, you got to be careful because it can creep up to getting angry. But if you stay cool, you stay positive, you can really work to prevent to getting frustrated or angry. And I would tell the young men out there, things won't always go your way. Circumstances won't always be where you want them to be. But I promise you, if you stay cool and stay away from frustration and anger, you can get through a lot of things in life just by staying cool and staying positive. Anger will drive you down a path that you don't want to go, and it's hard to get back from. Some people are in jail because of 5 minutes of anger, and it cost them 15 years of jail time. It's not worth it. When you're angry, where my graphic at? You can make those 50-50 decisions and bad decisions so fast before you realize it. And now you're in the courtroom because anger took over you just that fast. So you have to be careful about your temperament. Mentally, you have to know where you are on the spectrum at all times. And if you don't, I would say seek help. For me, the more that I built my relationship with God, the more He has helped me look at me where I'm at. Because it takes a lot of resources to look at another person, and you're not focusing on what you're doing. And you have to realize that nobody but you can use your brain to think about the things that you think about. I can't give my brain to somebody else and they run off of that. Don't work that way. You cannot control another person. That's why it's not good to get angry. People will say things about you it's not worth getting angry about. It's not worth your brain resources. Sometimes people talk about things that they don't know or they don't understand, even if you're successful at it, because they don't have the same experiences that you have. But what I would say is, from an individual standpoint, you have to control your temperament and not let those things get under your skin to make you frustrated and move into anger territory. You have to have a coolness about you to not allow it to drive you to anger, because it's not worth it. Don't get angry over another person's opinion, especially if it's negative, especially if they're saying stuff that's not true. It's not worth it. Know where you are on the spectrum at all times. And there's different spectrums. It's not just one main spectrum. That's what I'm showing you. It's different kinds of spectrums you have to think about in life where you are. Because you can be cool, and then you could be tired. Then you can be cordial. Then you can be like 50-50 on making good decisions all at the same time, and be firm and be fair. You can be all those things. But you got to know where you are. You got to be honest with yourself. A lot of times, as humans, we're not honest with ourselves or where we are on the spectrum. A lot of times, a person that's like getting over, they think they doing the right stuff, and they won't even recognize that they're getting over on people. They feel like it's the right thing. The key word is they feel like it's the right thing. But logically, they understand what they're doing because they developed the game to get over on people. Last one. Spectrum. You either don't know, you somewhat know, or you understand. A lot of times in life, you see this a lot. Whether at work, whether dealing with people, or just you riding by seeing somebody doing something. Me, working in IT, or most jobs, but when you go into, like, let's say if you go into IT and you don't know something, don't say that you know. Because if you say that you know, that means that you can swim on your own and you can do it, whatever the task is, on your own. You should be honest about that. If somebody asks you something, hey Mike, do you know how to do this? No, I do not know how to do that. Somewhat know. That means like you know a little bit about it, but you're not an expert at it. I mean, I know some of it, and that's cool too. Be honest about where you are on the spectrum. Nobody knows everything, but sometimes you know a little bit about it. You somewhat know about it. Then it's understand. To understand something means to know it in and out. That means you can do it without having somebody help you through it. So I'll give you an example. Me working in IT, right? When I used to do help desk in my younger years, before I could be a great help desk person, I had to understand how to operate a computer to a point to I can help this user with their problem because I know how this computer works. I know if it's a problem, I know where to go because I understand how a computer works. I understand how an operating system works, and I just understand the internals and how to use a computer. Do you have to be an expert? You don't. You just have to understand enough to help somebody. How to update software, how to look at the BIOS, what's on the hard drive, how to find programs on a hard drive. Another thing, if somebody show you something thoroughly one time and then they ask you, can you do it again? And you say you don't know, that don't look the best. Just keeping it real. And a lot of times people try to get out of stuff by saying, I don't know. That's why it's best to learn how to take notes. And if you don't know, learn something new. That's what a wise man told me. Learn something new every day if you can. Learn something new every day. Because sometimes don't know is not a good answer, not a good look. But at least you're being honest. And if you say, I don't know, but if you show me, now I can get to the somewhat know, then I can get to the understanding. When I first started making content, I didn't know. I didn't. I just learned along the way. Just keep building. Keep building on the know-how. Now, I'm live streaming all the time, making stuff all the time, learning. building, talking. But I did know. I started from the don't know. Now I'm getting to like in between somewhat and understand. And that's the great thing about learning something. You start from don't know, then you get to understand. Sometimes I think when you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to ask yourself, where am I on this spectrum? Going into a field that you don't know about, talking to people that's going to look at you as a novice, if it's fair, or are they going to get over on you? Happens all the time. Bad deals, bad business practices, getting into stuff because you didn't know or you somewhat knew. But let me know in the comments what you think about this. The thinking, visualizing the thinking spectrum. This is just a few of them in life that you kind of got to get a grip on and try to really add it to your thinking. And if you're not thinking about your self evaluation, what are you thinking about? That's another thing you got to really understand is if I'm not focusing on family, focusing on my development, whether it's spiritual, career, or academically, what am I focusing on? I'm talking about as a man. Like, it's good to talk about things, it's good to learn from things, but in my opinion, when you're thinking about another person for an extended period of time that's not in your circle or not in your family that you're leading or covering, how much resources do that take to do that? And then you're not developing. If it's not from a developmental place, you're just doing it from a place of gossip, a place of being nosy. How much resources do it take to do that? That's why I don't get caught up in the hate. I don't get caught up in the side talk, because when people spend that much time talking about you or spend that much time thinking about what you're doing, that means they're not developing. That means they're holding themselves back. It lets me know that I must be on the right path. That's why I don't get caught up in it. Because I learned in life, no matter what you do, people are going to say something anyway. So why get caught up in that spider web? It's not worth your resources. Your resources should go towards your development, personal growth as a man, so you can provide for your family. The more you develop, the more you sharpen your skills, the more chances you increase to provide for your family. In my opinion, as a man, that's where your resources should go. Development, leading your family, development, and personal growth. When you start getting into the weeds and worrying about what other people are doing to a point where it's taken away from those things, your development and everything, that's dangerous, because it can lead you down a path of losing time that you could have been investing into you. That's outside of your circle anyway, right? So with that being said, thanks for watching Mike Motivation. Those who come back and watch it, let me know in the comments what you think. Does this make sense? Is it logical? Let's build a community of logical thinkers. Hit the like button. Comment. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching Mike Motivation, and I am signing out.